goddess bless you.
My goods are of the highest quality. Del Nadres.
I am honored. Ishnu Allah. Good luck, friend.
Hey Laser, what's up? How's it going? Oh, Linux? Cool. Gotcha. I haven't messed with Linux in It's way back in the day. Weren't we talking about the BOS? I think it was you. Yeah. Cool. I've actually got another M2 drive in my closet here that I gotta put in my computer. I bought it like a while back and I still haven't put it in my computer. The 2 gig M2. Yeah.
You can kiss your ass goodbye. I'm not familiar with that one. Haiku OS. Yeah, interesting. It was pretty cool. I liked BOS. Like I said, I installed it on a few machines way back in the day and thought it was a pretty cool OS. Gotcha. Yeah, oh yeah, you didn't see? Yeah, she died yet. Like my hunter died yesterday. No, just the one time. I just restarted her once. I've only died once on hardcore since the December 15th, since since we started this whole hardcore fresh. Yeah, Vael died. In what it was actually in Westfall, and I was level 14. It was actually, believe it or not, was the problem. The cause with my death was a macro. I had a macro that said target enemy, and I thought really it should have said target nearest enemy, but actually I tested it out after the fact, and even target nearest enemy didn't work correctly. So basically, I was fighting, a couple mobs in Westfall, and my pet, I was no big deal. I had 2 mobs. I was fighting these humanoid mobs by Sentinel Hill. And I killed one, and the other one was gonna die, and my pet was around, I don't know, 30% health. And when the first one died, I went to use my macro that supposed to target the nearest enemy and send my pet. And when I did that, my pet ran. Like, imagining this is the guy that I wanted to send my pet to. I hit my macro, but my pet ran to this guy over here. There were two other mobs a little bit further past the one I was trying to kill, and my pet ran towards those when I used my macro. And right after I used my macro, I went to loot the one that I had just killed. So my character was down on the ground looting, and I saw my pet running to two other mobs that I didn't want my pet to run to, and I realized, you know, he's going to the wrong two mobs, so I targeted this mob again, the one close to me, to send my pet to attack that one. But by the time, you know, he stopped running and turned around to come back to attack this one, he daggered the other two. So I immediately said, oh, no big deal, I'll just run away, you know, I'll just send my pet on the one here that I wanted him to run away, and my pet died to this mob because he was already low, which I knew he would. And I'm like, oh, I'm fine, I'll run away. But then the mobs netted me. They netted me. I actually forgot those mobs did that. They netted me in place.
What brings
The two mobs are beating on me, and I end up taking healing potion. And then they netted me again, a second time. Yeah. And yeah, they netted me a second time, and that ended up getting me killed. So it's just a case of trying to run away from two mobs, and they netted me multiple times, and I wasn't able to get away. But the funny part about it was, like I said, that the funny part about it really was a couple things. One, I wasn't really too worried about the mobs. They weren't very powerful mobs, but it just shows you that it's pretty easy to die.
May the stars.
It is pretty easy to die in World of Warcraft when you're like level, you know, I think I was level 14. Yeah, I was level 14. Yeah, it was funny. It was, like I said, it was very surprising. I forgot to get the guys netted, to be honest. I was like surprised when they netted me. And then the other thing was my macro had target enemy, and I was expecting my macro was even called target near. I think actually it wasn't. It was called send pet, but I was expecting it not. You know, obviously I wasn't expecting my pet to go attack those two mobs. So it was kind of just a fuck up on my part in a couple different ways, but. But typically I like to have a macro. Why is my tooltips not working? Weird. Hold on a second. Huh. That's fine. I didn't have a show tooltip. But I usually have a macro, like typically when I'm playing on a hunter, I usually have a macro that will basically send my pet to attack the nearest enemy next to me. And that's something that I like to have. Like, it just saves me the time of having to target. You know, so like if I'm running past this mob here, I'll just hit my macro. My pet will target the nearest enemy, and I am expecting it to attack this mob here. It was a case of my macro didn't work as I expected, so. You missed the turtle wasp? Yep. Yeah, I want to get my survival. I want to get my melee hunter back up to 14 where she should be, so. I'm tired though, man. I haven't been getting enough sleep the last couple days, so. So you have to forgive me if I don't talk too much because I'm pretty tired. Yeah, this hunter died. I just was explaining it to FM Laser. Yeah, my hunter died. It was the first time I had anybody die since I started doing the. Yeah, I guess I deleted the videos, but I probably shouldn't have. Just I could just told you guys to go watch it. Yeah, he died too. There were a couple mobs of Westfall that netted me, basically netted me in place. And I tried to run away to reset them, and they netted me. I had to use my healing potion. And then they netted me a second time, and I ended up just dying. They were beating on me, and they killed me. Killed 2 paladins. Yeah. So I actually died. It's the first time in a long time, but it happens. But yeah, she was level 14. It won't take me long to get. That's why I want to get this character back to like 15 really quickly. The easiest way to get rid of the pain of a character dying in hardcore WoW is to level a new one past the level of the one that died. So once this character reaches like 15, then the one that died at 14 is just erased from my memory. So I'm like, well, this one's 15. That one's only 14. Yeah, I'm already past that character. It's ancient history. Yeah, we do have to do. Yep. I made the flight paths. So last time what I did was, at level 6, I ran over to, the dwarf starting area and did the dwarf starting quest. But this time, I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to go ahead and just level all the way to 10 right here. Get my pet. And then we'll head to, then we're going to head over to, Norman. A Million Ways to Die in the West. No, I never saw that movie. No, I don't think I've seen that. The name sounds very familiar though. Yeah, that's true. It is safer. It is funny though that I died. I died because I expected. I died because the macro didn't work the way I wanted it to. That's actually 100% how I died. Because when I used my macro, I expected the pet to hit the mob that was next to me, and she went to attack 2 different mobs that were further back, and that's actually how I died because she aggroed those 2 mobs, and that never would have happened if, if the macro worked as expected. So it was pretty interesting. I don't think I've ever died in hardcore WoW because of a macro. I don't think I've ever died. Actually, I know I haven't. I've never died because of a macro before. So that was a little bit disappointing, to be honest. I was a little bit angry about that. Yeah, well, what it was, there were 2 problems. One, the macro wasn't using /target near. But I actually tested it out, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work in this client, right? So this is what I was trying to do, is type target nearest enemy, right? Target nearest. And I mean, this is one of those commands that doesn't work in every version of WoW, right? You can see it doesn't do anything. So this command doesn't work. And you can test that out just by going to the console and saying /target. If I would do target, nothing happens. So target enemy. See, that works. See, target. So that's what was in the macro. What was in the macro was target enemy, which is probably why that was in the macro, because target nearest enemy doesn't seem to work in classic. But target nearest enemy does work in, I think, in like vanilla, I believe. It works in one of the versions. Wow. Yeah, but that's not a bad idea. I could use pet assist. It's not a bad idea.
But the goal of the macro that I had wasn't to assist me. The goal of the macro was to basically save me the trouble of having to manually like click on a mob. You know what I mean? The goal of target near, and it works. Here, let me show you. Let's see if I've got it here. It works really good. Like I do it in vanilla clients because like if you're moving through like a heavily populated zone, and you just want to use your pet to aggro mobs, right? As you're moving through a heavily populated zone. That way the mobs don't hit you and do that typical vanilla thing of, you know, dazing you or slowing you down. So it enables you to move through populated zones quickly. Because you don't care if your pet gets hit, right? I'm pretty sure this character probably has it set up, right? If you want to fight Gold, did a macro where he went over the difference between targets and... Yeah, let's see if we've got it. Oh man, this guy's hungry. Any food? And usually it's on my tiki. Right here, see this? See this macro right here? And you see what it says? Pet attack near. Okay.
What can I do for you?
Oh, I hate that about vanilla. Like in the classic client, if you hit the slash command, it opens up the window. See the window down here in the bottom left? If I hit / it opens up the window. It doesn't do that in vanilla, in original vanilla, so you have to hit the enter key first. And so I end up getting lazy. Anyways, whatever. So if we look at this macro, you can see it says /run. So this actually may work. See, because I'm doing a script. I'm actually running a script in super macro. Target nearest enemy, and you can see it's got parentheses, which means it's a method. So we're executing a method, and then we're going to say run pet attack. So let's copy this. Now I'll show you. So this is a really, really good macro when you're like playing a hunter, and you just want to move through a heavily populated zone and have your pet attack the mobs, and then as soon as your pet attacks the mob, you just call it back. Right? It just enables you to move through zones without getting hit yourself. You know. And so I love the macro, and plus it's really good to save you the time of having to target mobs. You know, you don't have to click on a mob, and you just spam your macro really good. So let's say I'm on this hunter, and I'm running past. What is this? Is this a mob up here? Or is that just a? Yeah, it's a sheep, I guess. What level am I? 18. So I'm just gonna hit my macro, and you can see it works. I hit my macro, my pet automatically targets this whelp and goes to attack this whelp. And so the reason I died on Classic, well, I just go to green. The reason I died was because I thought that's how my macro that I had was going to work. So I was fighting two mobs here like this. There was a mob here and there was a mob here. I just killed a mob. There were two mobs past this mob over here. And I hit my macro, which I expected my pet to target this mob just like here and attack this mob. And my pet didn't do that. My pet targeted the two mobs behind that mob, ran over to attack those mobs. And by the time I was able to call my pet back to me, it was too late. She'd gotten close enough to those other two mobs to aggro them. And that ended up getting me killed. And that was my fault, obviously, but I expected my macro to work like this macro here is working, to send my pet to the closest target and attack the target. So it's just it was a learning experience to try to figure, you know, to understand that, you know, these certain macros that work in vanilla obviously don't work in classic. They're different clients, you know. But I find the target near macro, this one, to be extremely useful. Now this may work in Classic, I'm not sure. Because keep in mind, this is a super macro. Macro and super macro enables different commands to work in, you know, in this client. So I don't know, and so we're going to try this actually. We're going to try this in Classic now. We're going to create a macro and we're going to call it
Same thing. I don't think it's going to work personally, but we're going to give it a go, right? We're going to say pet, and I always call it the same thing, pet, attack, near. But this isn't a super macro, so let's not do that. I don't even think do I even have super macro installed? I don't think you can get super macro. Yeah, I don't think super macro even works in classic. Take a look. Yeah, see, so I don't think we can do it. Because these are all like, super macro is like a vanilla, you know, it's like a vanilla add-on, you know? There's a TBC add-on. Yeah, but you would need a 1.14. Yeah, it doesn't look like there is even one, so. Like, I'm sure this is not going to work, right? Yeah, see, a macroscope has been blocked from action, only available in Blizzard UI. See that? So you can't run macro scripts in Classic. So, yeah, so we can't do it. Well, I don't think Start Attack will work because Start Attack is basically the same thing as, right? It's the same thing as basically tab targeting. It's going to cycle, I'm pretty sure. So Start Attack isn't going to be good either. All right, so it doesn't. Are you saying it doesn't? If it doesn't cycle, then that would work. That's the thing I'm worried about is if it cycles, like if you're hitting the tab key. It's just the opposite of stop attack. We'll test it out here. We'll test that. The start attack does always target the nearest mob. That's the key, right? Hey, Laserman, have a good one. Thanks, Laser. Yeah, I'll try to... I shouldn't die this time. Knock on wood. But yeah, I did die because of... I expected my macro to do something different. Oh, you said start attack. Well, start attack's not going to work. Hey, what's up? Well, start attack's not going to work because start attack doesn't automatically... Here. Wait a second. I must have typed it wrong. I did. I was going to say, it's not working correctly. And we don't even need to do this. I already have a start attack macro, right? Is right here. That's all this does. Okay, so start attack targets this mob. And if I keep spamming it... Yeah, so it looks like that will work. It also won't switch targets. But will it take into account which direction I'm facing? No, it will not. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, it looks like it works. Looks like it works. Dude, I'm babe. Did you? Yeah. My hunter did die. I thought you would have seen that by now. God, this is the worst part about. Okay, this is the worst part about dying on a character in Arc of WoW. That every time someone comes to stream, I got to re-explain what happened.
Your hunter died? What happened? No, yeah, the hunter died at level 14 in Westfall. What happened was, and it was a macro. It was basically, I mean, honestly, it was I expected a macro to work differently than the way it worked. Ended up getting me killed. I was trying to explain it. I'm just gonna put it in freaking. I'm just gonna draw it out. That way, any other person who comes in and says your hunter died, I will explain it. I will explain what happened. Okay? We had a mob A. We had a mob B. Okay? We have the hunter. And we have the hunter pet. Okay? We just had killed mob B. Mob B was... Actually, we just had killed mob A. Okay? Mob A was dead. My pet's health was probably about 30%. I, used my macro, and we had mob C and mob D that just spawned right when I went to hit my macro. These guys just spawned. I've got a macro that called pet attack near, right? Which works perfectly fine, which I demonstrated in vanilla WoW, works perfectly fine. And what we just found out kind of is the same thing. Like when we run the super macro script, run target nearest enemy, it's kind of the same thing as doing / start attack, right? So my macro was doing / target really, it's hard to write with a freaking mouse. Target near, basically nearest, and ... nearest enemy, right? And I'm not gonna write it all out because it's. So my macro had this command in it. So I hit my macro, which is basically I assumed was gonna make my pet attack this guy, but it didn't. Okay. What happened was my pet went this way to attack this guy here, right? Right after I hit my macro to tell my pet to attack what I assumed was going to be this guy right here, I went to loot this one. So I hit my macro, went right-click this guy on the ground to loot him. So my character is in the middle of bending down to the ground to loot this mob. The pet is right about here, so I realize the pet's going to the wrong mobs. I immediately target the B mob again and tell my pet to attack this one. So my pet stops running this direction and starts running back towards this mob. Of course, as you might expect, these mobs now are aggroed, right? So I've got these two mobs coming over. Me being the typical Julian, I said no big deal. We're just going to reset. But remember, my pet's only 30% health. My pet, I had told him to go back and attack the B mob. And I said, I'm going to make a beeline out of here. Okay? So I'm running away. My pet hits B mob. B mob kills my pet. Right? But I wasn't really worried about that. Because I'm like, no big deal. I'm just going to run away. What happens? The D mob throws a net on me. So I am now in a net right about here. After he throws a net on me, both mobs catch up to me, start beating on me. My health starts to go down. My health starts to go down. Health is here. I take healing pot. Health is now about here. I think I'm still probably fine. I come out of the net. I continue to run away. Guess what happens? The mobs net me again. I am now in a net for the second time. I have no healing potion. I die. This is me lying on the ground, dead. Okay, that's how I died. And it all happened because I expected when I hit my macro to tell my pet to attack the B target, my pet ran to C and D. That is exactly what happened. And I just demonstrated on the Chronos client of how my macro, basically the same macro, works correctly. Because on Chronos we have super macro and target nearest enemy works as expected. But what we found out is that I can create a new macro, right, for my pet if we want. And the new macro, instead of target nearest enemy, which doesn't work in Classic, we can simply say start
You can
attack.
kiss your ass goodbye.
The problem is start attack probably doesn't work
You were screwed.
for your pet, right? Oh my god. I was getting too low there. Yeah, I know. I was watching that. I was like, he's getting really low. But start attack. So what you could do is see what is it pet attack? So we'll have to try it. I don't know if pet. See, that's the other thing is I don't know if pet attack works. So what we're thinking is instead of the old macro, which would be here, the old macro was like target nearest enemy. Pet attack. We should be able to now replace this with simply start attack, pet attack. That start attack will target the nearest enemy for us, and then pet attack. I just don't know if pet attack is a valid command in, that's a valid command, and I think it is. I think it's a valid command in Classic. So, but we're gonna find out once we actually get a pet. We don't have a pet yet, so once we get a pet, we'll test that out. But yeah, pretty interesting. The key Einbay is that the key Einbay is that I actually learned something, which I actually learned something about the macros between vanilla and classic. So, I think that's one of my favorite things. Like Einbay, you talk about WoW being a dead game, which I totally disagree with, but. I mean, it's not a dead game. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of people playing it. But what I do like about World of Warcraft is that even after playing the game since 2004, I still learn new stuff all the time. You know what I mean? I still, to this day, I'm learning new things. Which I think is really cool, actually. My wife's going to kill me, but I don't want to go to bed. It's 3 a.m. I should be in bed. I tried to play earlier, this character, but I was too tired. And so I literally fell asleep in the office for probably 2 hours. Well, on retail, it's good. Yeah, it's actually 100%. I mean, in Shadowlands. In Shadowlands, Survival Hunter is fantastic. It's actually it's like one of the funnest versions of the Hunter. I don't know how it is on Dragonfly, but I would assume it's probably still pretty good. Yeah, I haven't played it in Dragonfly. I mean, yeah, I haven't played it in Dragonfly. In Shadowlands, I thought it was really good. Should have healed up before attacking this mob, by the way. But since he's only level 6, we're fine.
You can kiss your ass goodbye.
I think we're fine. You want to see a cool video clip? Let's see.
I think I put it in media, yeah. I knew that would be... Here's an extra clip I took of the first time I ever did a hardcore character in Classic WoW. First time. Pretty sure this was the first character I ever did in hardcore in Classic WoW. And it was a Night Elf Hunter. And I got all the way to level 28 and I died. But I want to show you this video clip because I still have the video. The videos are still on my channel. But what's really interesting in this video is you get to see like me doing things that I obviously don't do now. So, but check it out. Certainly doable, you know. I wasn't really worried. Wasn't too worried, let's say. Start from the beginning. So what happens here... I knew that would be certainly... You don't see it because when you clip something on YouTube, it only allows you to clip something for like a minute or something. But what happened was I charged this mob here and I aggroed the pillager, the caster, and then I instead of attacking where they were, I ran back into this area because I just killed the mob here. So I knew that if I ran back into this area, I would only ever have to deal with the two mobs. Doable, you know. I wasn't really worried. But another thing that's interesting about this clip is I just fought 3 mobs prior to this pull. So I had used a healing potion. So if you look at my healing potion over here, it's on cooldown for 47 seconds. So I had just done a pull where I was killing 2 mobs and then another one aggroed and he came from behind me. And so my healing potion is on cooldown. So this gets pretty interesting. Wasn't too worried, let's say. So of course, what you're going to do here is you have a melee and you have a caster, the pillager. Obviously, I'm using my shield. Another thing that I found interesting with this clip is I was actually leveling sword and board. I wasn't even doing like I'm only level like 14 or 15, so it makes sense. Well, no, it doesn't really. When do you get dual wield? I thought you okay, yeah, but anyways, you don't get dual. No, you do get dual wield. So yeah, but it was interesting. I was using sword and board. So, but watch this. So I do the right thing here and I attack the pillager because obviously I want to be able to interrupt any spell casts. You can see I'm already down. Now this is percentage, right? So I've got 335 health out of 478. I'm at 70% health. The pillager is going to cast a fireball. And I'm going to interrupt it. So right now, right now I'm playing this correctly. Although now I'm worried. Now I'm a little worried. And you can see I'm talking about how I'm worried because I know in my mind that I don't have a healing potion. And I'm at 46% health, and I've got 2 mobs. So and this is really, I'm pretty worried. Now I say I'm really worried because he's casting fireball, and I know my interrupt is on cooldown for 4 seconds, so I cannot stop this fireball. So I'm going to eat a fireball right in my face. I'm really worried. And you can see my health dropped all the way down to 24%. And now he's running, so I have to run after him because I don't want him to run and aggro other mobs unless I want to kill him. Don't you dare aggro somebody. So here's the fun part. I killed this guy. I'm now at 17% health. I have 82 health, and we still have to kill the miner. Okay, now I'm a little worried. You can see I'm even moving my cursor over my health. I'm looking at my health, and I'm moving my cursor over it as if to say, okay, look, I'm low on health. I'm at 66 health. What I did there was I think I wing clipped or whatever, like hamstrung the mob, and I tried to run to the corner and get off a couple ticks of the bandage. I think that's what I did. I want to take a look at this and see if I did actually do a wing clip. Okay, I didn't do it there. Buddy. Let's see if we wing clip him. Right, yep. Okay, so again, here what I did was probably kind of a good idea. I thought, well, I'll wing clip this guy, run to the corner, and try to get off a bandage. Okay, now I'm a little worried. But he kind of did a little bit of a slow there. Did you see that? When he hit me, it kind of slowed me down. So I wasn't able to get more distance than I thought I was. I thought I was going to get a little bit more of a distance. So I'm going to run to the corner and try to pop a bandage. I could have ran a little bit further, but it didn't really matter because the mob wasn't, So I'm at 11%. I get 1 tick of the bandage to 15, but notice that even before the bandage finishes, he's going to knock it back down to 12. Ooh, that's a pretty view of the sword swinging through the air here. What I wanted to point out here is that what's really interesting about this clip is notice how I parry like 3 attacks in a row. Watch this. Parry. This parry here means I parried the enemy's attack. So let's watch it again. So I'm at 66 health, 55 health, 74 health, 62, parry. Parry, 62.
I'm very worried.
So I parried, was it just 2 attacks? I thought I parried 3. Because it made the sound twice. It went ting, ting. But anyway, at the very minimum, I parried 2 attacks. Parry, parry.
I'm very worried. Oh.
So he got me to 27 health, and then right as my healing potion came up, I used it. Right? See how my health jumped up? So really, if you watch this video, I played it pretty good. Like I did everything kind of correct. But I was down to 25 health there. So every time he hits me, let's see, when he hits me, look, I took 12 health, right? Damage. I parried 2 attacks. So we can assume that if I hadn't parried those 2 attacks, I probably, 14, 12, if we take the average, that's 13 health between the two. 2 attacks I parried would have got me down to probably like 1 or 2 health. That's a pretty cool clip.
Oh.
But the other thing I learned by watching this is that when I watched the combat before this combat, I was fighting 3 mobs. What was interesting in that is I did a really, really bad job in that combat of not hitting the mob with the lowest health, which really shocked me when I watched it. I'm like, I was actually fighting mobs and beating on mobs, and I wasn't hitting the mob with the lowest health, and I was like, what are you doing? So it is interesting to go back and watch like old footage from, because you definitely, as a player, you always are getting better, even though you may not realize it. You may not even realize, that you're improving, but you do improve. Yeah. I just thought it was interesting. Yeah, I actually played it about as good as I could have played it. I interrupted every spell I could. I tried to run away. I used wing clip. I tried to get off a bandage. It didn't work. As soon as my healing potion came up, I was very aware of what was going on. I was aware of my healing potion's cooldown. That's something you see all the time with people, is you see that they might have a healing potion that's on cooldown, but then when it does come up, they're so worried about their health, they don't use it. They don't see it right away, So I was actually very aware of what was going on, and I played it pretty well. But I just thought it was really cool that I parried 2 blows at the very end that probably could have got me killed. You were so strategic that there was too much strategery? Strategery.
Ishnu Allah. Illuminate your path.
But yeah, I was really shocked when I watched that video. The fight before that fight, I was shocked that I was like spending so much time hitting mobs that had a lot more health than other. There were 3 mobs, and one of them was like 20% health. One was like 50% health, and I'm sitting there beating on the one with 50% health. I'm like, what am I doing? It's like, kill the mob with the... So the kill order, right? I mean, you guys probably know this. Maybe you don't. I'll explain it to you really quick. So, like, in WoW, you have, there's a priority. Like, here, let's go. I need like a better drawing tool. Let's just go into, let's go. But in WoW, you have like a priority. So so let's say you're fighting multiple mobs, right? Multiple mobs. Are we fighting multiple mobs? If yes, then it's going to say Ah. You know what? It'll be better if I just do it and... Oh, I found something. I was working at work today. I was working on writing diagrams in Visual Studio Code using I think it was called, it wasn't Pegasus. I know, it was just really cool, but anyways, whatever. I digress, obviously. So, in World of Warcraft, okay, so you have a decision structure, right? You say, like, let's say you say, you know, you're fighting multiple mobs, multiple mobs, yes. Okay, is one of the mobs caster, right? What's that? Yes, if it is a caster, kill caster, right? If it's not a caster, right? No, it's not a caster. Then, okay, R is one of the mobs, lower level, right? Lower level than the other, right? Yes, right? Kill lower level mob first. So you basically, in your head, you have a priority, right? You have a decision matrix or whatever. So let's say you're fighting two mobs, and the first thing you should think of is one of them a caster? Yes, kill the caster first. If there's not a caster, is one of the mobs higher level than the other mob, than one of the others? And yes, then you kill the lower level mob first. That's how you approach multiple mob combat in World of Warcraft Hardcore. To try to give yourself the best chance of killing the mobs as quickly as possible. So, and that's another thing you see. You see people screw it up all the time. They're like leveling warriors and they're like level 5, but they aggro two mobs. Usually they get the caster part right. Usually they're smart enough to know, hey, if there's a caster, kill the caster first. But a lot of times, you will see them not kill the lowest level mob first. And that can be the difference between life and death, because obviously a lower level mob, you're going to have a greater chance of landing blows, you're going to have a greater chance of landing critical blows. So, anyways, just little things like that make a big difference in hardcore WoW. Is this awful music? I don't like that music. So what I tried doing this time was, normally at like level 6, I'll run to the Stormwind area and I'll do like the level like dwarf quests and then do like the low level human quests. And then when I'm level 10, I'll come back. But this time I decided not to do that. And what I did was I stayed in the starting area and just grinded mobs quite a bit to make sure that I grinded out a couple of extra levels. And because the time it takes to actually get to Stormwind, since I have to swim there, is pretty significant. It's like 45 minutes, right? So can me just like grinding mobs for an extra 45 minutes make up the difference? Because really the goal is to get to level 10 as fast as possible. And I still think, honestly, that it's not as fast. I still think it's faster. And I could be wrong, but it feels like it's faster to me if you just, once you hit level 6 in this area, just go ahead and run to Stormwind. Go over to Ironforge, get your flight paths, do your dwarf low level quests, and then go to the human starting area, do the human starting quest, and then come back to this area and go ahead and do your pet quest for your 100. But it is a lot of running around.
Amen.
Be careful. Ishnu Dal Diel. Farewell.
Yeah, I think it's you said you keep the hearth here at Dolinar because you're just gonna hearth right back here. Yeah. But yeah, it feels pretty close. I mean, it feels close. I wish I would have done like a slash plate on my other character at level 8, but I'm at 3 hours. I think honestly, I think this is faster. I think staying is faster, but you have to grind out some mobs in the starting area, like, you know, in Shadow Glen, which is what I did. I actually grinded mobs for like an extra hour, I would say, and I think that is, I think it may be faster, but it's you know, fairly close. The problem is you get to where I am now, where you're kind of grinding mobs again. Whereas at this point, if I was in the, you know, in the dwarf area, the storm, or the human area, I'd be doing low level quests that are really easy. You know, you'd be flying through quests because I'd be killing mobs that are like level 5, and there'd be a lot of quests. Now there aren't a lot of quests that I can do easily here. There's just a couple, and they're not super easy. Although I do need to get that fell cone. That's an easy win. Yeah, this whole working at the office every day is for the frickin' birds, man. I do not like it one bit. It's been probably 3 years.
Don't touch me!
Since I've had to work in the office more than like 3 days a week. And now I'm working in the office like every single day now. Because our new CEO feels like we need to be in the office. We just got a new CEO. The old CEO didn't give a shit. You know what I mean? Not the new CEO. Yeah, that's true. That's another reason. That's another incentive going to the dwarven areas, because there's so much skinning. Because the quests are having you kill like boars like crazy, like kill all these boars, kill all these, you know, mobs that you can skin. So that's and there's like the yetis. You're like killing yetis. You're killing boars. Yeah. Oh, I checked it out. Imbe, I sent the Singularity careers to my boss. I sent him that link to the careers. I always do that. I ride my boss for. He didn't used to be my boss, right? He's my boss now. But I always am kind of like pushing his buttons, like, you know, we should be doing this. This is what we should be doing. We shouldn't be like business programming for freaking financial applications. We should be game programmers, although we'd probably make less money doing it. Oh, Imbe, where's my music? It's too loud. Imbe, I filled out the... Dude, I filled out the streamer... Hold on a second. See, I don't know if I want to go over this whole document with you guys or not. I filled out the streamer thing for Palia, right? You saw the message, but I gave him the full treatment, and that was a lot of experience for that quest. Holy crap! Do you see that, dude? I gave him the full treatment, man. I even sent them my EverQuest story, right? So, Imbe, do you know this story, Imbe? Remember there was. So EverQuest, like Sony Online, you think beta is imminent?
Can I assist you? Good luck, friend.
Yeah, so basically, right? Yeah, the Rise and Fall of Landmark and EverQuest next. I don't think I'll be able to find it, but oh no, they won't kick it out of the park. They might, they could, they may use that, but if they're smart, they'll read it. So what EverQuest did, Sony Online Entertainment, what they did is they were putting together a new game called EverQuest Next, and they did a thing where they wanted to know, they wanted you to submit, they wanted people to submit their EverQuest stories from EverQuest One, right? And I didn't have an EverQuest story because I never played EverQuest One. So I submitted this document to Sony Online Entertainment. And it was called Dear EQ Family, my EverQuest story is a bit different than what you would be expecting. I didn't play EverQuest or EverQuest 2. I said, however, watching the live stream, I really wanted to give some feedback on this topic. And I said, I really want to give some feedback. So to this point, I want you to talk about how I got here, gearing up for alpha for EverQuest Next Landmark, and what I'm looking to get out of EverQuest Next Landmark. And then I went through basically my history in kind of the art world of game animation, content creation. My history is a lot of, actually I have a lot of personal stuff in here about, like, my history is me trying to go to college for certain things, my goals coming out of, like, high school, or coming out of college, and then I went into my gaming history, right, talking about what, where I came from as a gamer, right. Like the first game I really paid attention was like MechWarrior. But this whole story talks about how me as a player playing video games approached video games. Like what I saw, what I liked, what was interesting to me, right? And then I talk about my first MMO, which is Lineage 2, right? And then, so basically I set up this history of where I was as a person, what I liked as a person, art, creative design, and then what I liked as a gamer. So it was really more tailored to EverQuest Next Landmark, because Landmark was basically a tool where you could build and design stuff. And then that stuff could be put on the Sony Online Entertainment store. Yeah. But yeah, so basically what it was is EverQuest was Sony Online Entertainment was going to create a store for Landmark for people, so that you could create stuff in Landmark. You could post these packages, these things you've created on their store, and people could buy those things and put them in the world. Maybe you created a really cool tree that you liked, and people could buy it as like an art asset, just like going to the Unity store, going to the Epic Games store. And then you could take that tree, you could put it into your game engine and use it. Same thing. So when I went through this whole document, it was pure genius the way I wrote this, right? I'm not gonna lie, it was pure genius, right? I'm a software developer who currently works for a tech software company, Florida. I have a degree in computer science, coming out of high school in 1980. I always dreamed of getting into the field of computer animation, digital content creation, and then we kind of go down. I talked about how I tried to get into a certain school, Reading School of Art and Design, many times, but it's because of where I was in life, it wasn't possible. I talked about I even talked to the president of the company I worked for in Chicago back in 1998 to allow me to take a class at the RNC of Chicago, Intro to 2D, 3D computer animation. All this is true. This is all true stuff about my life, right? I actually did talk my president of my company in Chicago into paying for me to take a class into 2D, 3D computer animation at the Art Institute of Chicago. I was the first person in my entire company to be funded for a college course. And to do this, and I didn't say it here, but to do this, I actually had to write a paper. I actually had to write a reason why you guys should pay for this paper. And it was accepted. My paper was good enough. I've always been good at writing. My paper was good enough so that the president of the company approved it, right? Which is really funny because the class is 2D to 3D computer animation. What does that have to do with what I did? I was a freaking software developer. What does that have to do with software development? It really didn't have to do anything to do with my job at the time, but the way I wrote it, it sounded like it did. Then I went into gaming history, talking about where I came from, what were the first games I played, what did I like about them, and I went into the Unreal editor that I used in Unreal Tournament in 1989. I talked about how I used it to create level design, different stuff, things that piqued my interest. Then I brought it all around full circle to the EverQuest Next reveal, right?
So if you go to
you, the players, to make absolute change in the world.
And at the EverQuest Next reveal, what they revealed was the ability for you as a player to create stuff, right? Let's see if we get into it.
That rallying call together at the same time. To the right that we changed the core game. And those 4 elements wrap together into something that we call EverQuest Next. Stations where you can use the resources and the recipes to create objects like, statues and doors and windows and things like that, and then you bring them back to your claim and you start erecting. Now, the tools are what make this a really, really fantastic experience. So, when you play a normal block building game, you expect this kind of tool where you can stack blocks and stuff. And that's a great place to start, and of course we can do that too. But there's more. Because in our game, the
And he stole that from Steve Jobs, even the way he said that, but there's more, Steve Jobs.
voxel brush can change size, which allows you to very easily and very quickly create an amazing amount of detail.
Notice how when you think about Minecraft, whatever, like you can create, like the pixels are all the same, kind of the same size, but in EverQuest X Landmark, since they were using the technology of the voxel farm engine, you are able to scale the brush size so that you can deal with smaller and smaller incremental, squares. But you can also round. There's also smooth brush and stuff like that. So.
You can also use a bevel tool to cut different angles off the block, as well as a smoothing tool to actually change the vertices in real time to be able to look eroded or smoothed.
So this is actually really powerful. Just the tools he showed right there gives you as a content creator, I guess you could say, but that enables you to have a lot of freedom here, just to be able to cut at different angles, to do different sizes, and then to use the smooth tool, because the smooth tool is obviously going to do an arithmetic operation that's going to change the object in a way that you're going to have a lot of variation. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that because this was the EverQuest Next Landmark reveal. Where I brought this, my Sony EverQuest story around full circle was in linking it back to when I watched the EverQuest Next reveal. I was not expecting what happened. I was just looking for a game that had something more to offer. I really wanted an MMO with more intelligent AI, more dynamic combat. So funny that I wrote this. Keep in mind, this article was written probably about 8 years ago. I wrote this 8 years ago, and it's funny because I'm still looking for these things. I'm still looking for an MMO with more intelligent AI and more dynamic combat. Although I can say that now we have a lot more dynamic combat than we did 9 years ago when I wrote this. Yeah, and then so I kind of go through all this stuff. I talk about me being a software designer, 3D hobbyist, open mic. Yeah, I've done open mic guitar. And then I say, so you can only imagine from my background. And then again, I'm referring to my background. So you can only imagine from my background the excitement, the energy that I have towards EverQuest Next Landmark. I will be a trailblazer, which is what again, I'm such a good writer sometimes. A trailblazer is something that one of the names that they called someone who was an early adopter of the game, or someone who was, purchased a pre-order package. I will be a trailblazer, content creator. I will be an explorer. I'll be a player studio MVP. So they were creating a player studio for you to basically create assets and put them on the player studio for people to purchase or use, right? I'll be a content creator, I'll be an explorer, I'll be a player studio. I will eat, sleep, and dream EverQuest Next Landmark. As a software designer, I bring major software development experience with me into the alpha. As a game enthusiast and artist, I bring an eye to detail on all the ideas and experience that I've had in this genre for the past 15 plus years. My EverQuest story is just beginning. So this was such a brilliant article that I wrote, a brilliant story, because the whole point was they wanted people to tell their EverQuest stories from playing EverQuest 1. But the way I approached this whole document, or this whole essay, was that I never played EverQuest 1. So how did I surmise my essay? My EverQuest story is just beginning, because I never. So this is going to be mine. So I approached the whole thing from a different point of view. Now, the cool thing is I got a letter from Sony Online Entertainment, and it was their community director, and who invited me to come out to California to attend the EverQuest Next
you know, one of their a conference they were having about the game. She said she enjoyed reading my my essay, and that she didn't just say she enjoyed reading it. She said we enjoyed reading it, right? And that we hope that you will come out to California and attend their next big event. Of course, I couldn't. I didn't have the money to fly out to California at that time. I was a poor programmer, right? But so in the thing that I just submitted to Palia, I gave them a blurb of like why I was interested in Palia. But then I said, you know what? I said, here's my document. I said, here's something that I wrote up for EverQuest Next. You know, when that was coming out, that kind of explains why I'm excited about MMOs, why I'm excited about content creation. Because I felt like that document actually is fairly, it applies to Palia a lot, because Palia is a lot of those same things. It's a lot of creation, right? It's a lot of, you know, creating your house, you know, growing your farm. There's a lot of player created content. So I thought, you know what? I'll send them this too. So we'll see if they read it, and if they get it. They should, if they do read it all the way through, and they don't think I'm a psycho crazy person. Like, oh my God, this guy sent all this information, and just, you know, push it to the side, which is quite possible. But if they take the time to read that, they'll be like, wait a minute, this guy's got, he may have something to offer us as a content creator. This guy is excited for what he's doing. He means business. Ah, good times, man. Good times. It was just so sad, though. You know, it was so sad that EverQuest Next never became you know, that the project failed. You know, that was really sad. You know. Yeah, that was my take on it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you never know. You never know what I will do. I think the thing that's interesting about video games is, you know, what am I doing? Where am I going? Who am I? All right, let's go do this quest if we can. I don't know. I'm level 8. I think I can. I think I can. I need to get to bed soon, guys. But within the next 25 minutes, I need to get to bed, because I want to get to bed by 4 a.m. Because I don't want to, because my wife has to get up at 7, and I don't want to wake her up past 4. So, yeah, the thing that's really interesting with, I mean, for sure, what I like about MMOs is I love exploring the worlds. I love, you know, finding, like, learning about the world. I love seeing what's in the world. I love seeing stuff like waterfalls and trees and the mountains and how it's all created and how it's all put together. I'm super interested in all that stuff. But I also love how your character, like the character you play in the game, how the character grows. You know, how, that's why I can level characters over and over from, you know, from 1 to 60, because every time I do, I'm always curious about, you know, how am I going to, you know, what talents may I take this time that are different than the ones I took last time. So I'm always interested in the development of the character and how the character plays, you know, versus the last time I played the character. And then, of course, so Palia is more about, you know, you're going to have like farming, and you're going to have probably some sort of crafting, and you're going to be building, you know, like decorating your homes, and you're going to be growing farms and exploring the world. And there's certain things you'll find in the world, like quests that you can explore that are going to somehow, you know, provide you with different things maybe that you can use for your house. Maybe there's custom quests you have to somehow unlock that'll allow you to maybe learn new skills. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I don't know exactly what Palia is going to be, but, you know, I never know what's going to draw me in as a player. You know, I never know what's going to pique my interest. You know, I only think I know from past experiences. But if we play a game that's completely different, like if Palia is less focused on combat, less focused on the typical MMO stuff of like go kill 10 of these mobs and blah blah blah. It's hard to say how that may, you know, impact me at my enjoyment of the game. You know, so Yeah, lack of player. I agree with that. I think lack of player. Oh, jeez. Did I say jeez? I did. I don't want to fight 2 7s at once. That would get me killed. But lack of having player housing in WoW is a huge oversight. And Ian Dusha Costas did say that, and I probably shouldn't say that if I'm going to be a content creator for another game. They're probably like, well, we don't want this guy. That's one thing I do worry about a little bit, I'm Baze. You know, I do have a temper, and I can be a little bit harsh sometimes. And so let's hope that if somebody did want to evaluate me as a content creator, they don't go watch all my streams. but yeah, Ian did say that they are looking into doing player
You can
housing.
kiss your ass goodbye.
Right? For WoW. He said they are looking into it. But the thing with player housing is it does take time to put it together. But yeah, looking into it's one thing. They've never done it, and the community has asked for it for a long time. People have wanted player housing in WoW for a long time, and you know, it's a huge oversight because so many, even MMOs that are not even very good MMOs have player housing. You know, even like, you know, I mean, like Black Desert has player housing. Black Desert actually had player housing. It's not great, but ooh, that reminds me of an MMO that's supposed to be coming out to us, and it hasn't come out. I gotta check that out. Justice Online has amazing housing actually, but it's a Chinese MMO. But it is supposed to be coming out here for the West. These guys just went into the house, so they should be clearing out. I don't think I have. Oh, you did. Being Pie is going to be the best. Yeah, I don't even know. The best player housing I've worked with was the Justice Online one.
You can kiss your ass goodbye.
Do I even have a healing potion? I really need a healing potion. Running around fighting these mobs is pretty dangerous. No healing. Yeah, it's definitely a huge oversight, and I don't really understand. And plus, especially with what's really interesting, I bet, is World of Warcraft is such a big universe, and there's so much lore. There's so much love. There's so many people who love World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft is still a social phenomenon. It still is. It's not mainstream anymore, obviously, but it still is something that people know what it is. There aren't too many people in the world that you can go up to and say World of Warcraft that they don't know what that is, which is really amazing. You know, most video games aren't like that. You know what I mean? You know, it is a social. What's that phrase? It is a social phenomenon. It really is. You know. Yeah, and the thing is, well, they're sitting there in a room, and they're deciding, you know, what's worth putting time in. You know, what is worthy of their time. Is it worth our time to do player housing? And for whatever reason, they have a list of things that they think are worthy of their time more than player housing, which is really surprising. And the other thing too, Imbe, is how they just finally, after all these years, put in a more customizable UI, which people have been asking for probably like 5 or 6 or 7 years. You know, and they finally put it in, and it makes the game better. Like, one of my complaints with MMOs one of my biggest complaints, and you've heard me cry like and whine about it many times in World of Warcraft, is there's so many different versions of WoW. It's just a pain to always have to set up your macros and your add-ons and every single time, because every different version has a slightly different macro system, or this add-on has, you know, have to have the exact right version of the add-on. You know, I can't just take this add-on and plug it into classic WoW and then use the same one for, you know, Shadowlands. I can't even use the same add-on for Shadowlands that I use for Dragonflight. You know, it's, you know, every version's different, and that's always annoying to me. You know, and that's why if they can create in-game functionality like the better UI editor and the custom layouts and stuff like that to basically, you know, get rid of the need for certain add-ons, that's a good thing. I don't want to have to use. I don't want to have to use these add-ons. You know what I mean? things like how to move certain, like there's an add-on called Move Anything, which allows you to move any UI element and WoW around. Well, just let the players move stuff around, which now you know they've done that. They finally put in an editor that you can actually go in and edit the UI, which you know gets rid of the need for something like Move Anything. But that should have been done a long time. That's the point I'm trying to get at, is they should have done these things a long time ago. I mean, you've got a company that's made, I mean, they got a game that they've made millions and millions and probably billions, actually, yeah, definitely billions off of, and they couldn't put these simple things in that other games have had for years. And yes, I played BDO. I played a ton of BDO, actually. I actually like BDO quite a bit. Yeah, they need to focus less on. Yeah, the thing is, they need to focus less. The thing is, in an MMO, classes aren't going to be balanced. Here's the problem. They've let the player base drive the need for class tuning. The other thing that Blizzard likes to do is for PvP, they like to make classes like overpowered on purpose. And they do it on purpose, right? So you know, you have like one expansion and the Warriors is shit, right? But then the next expansion, the Warriors like God mode. Well, they do that because they want people to play different classes, because if you play an MMO, what's a good way to keep people playing an MMO? You want to keep them doing stuff that they haven't done before, because it keeps the game fresh for them. It makes it fun for them. So if someone's played WoW for 3 years but they've always been a mage, what's the best way to get that player to stay in the game? You want to get that player to experience other classes, because if you get bored in MMO, what's the first thing you do? You play a different class. Like if you're playing WoW and you're like, well, I'm bored, what's the first thing you do? Well, go roll a different class. And so the way Blizzard did it, which of course is genius, is, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it's not good, is they will basically, for an expansion, they'll have one class that's like really strong, stronger than all the others. So like, for example, like in Cataclysm, you know, Retribution Paladin was incredibly strong. So people all the way up to Cataclysm who never played Retribution Paladin, because Retribution Paladin wasn't really that great in all the expansions leading up to Cataclysm. It was okay in Wrath, but it wasn't great. Then they start playing Retribution Paladin, and they're like, "Oh, this is great! You know, this is so much fun." Now my love of the game is back because you're having fun.
Hello.
And I fully believe that's why they do that. That's why they make certain classes at the beginning of each expansion way stronger than others. And that's why they take classes that were super strong in the previous expansion and make them weaker, because they want players to try something else. You know. My current story playthrough clearly betrays. Let's see. When I cared, it was killing me that the books are so decent and much more serious. And I've been as a game. My current story playthrough clearly betrays that. They will develop. Yeah. Yeah, the Sylvanas thing was horrible. Yeah. Oh, and you know, and wasn't it? If you guys watch a lot of Bellular Gaming, which I haven't watched any of his stuff in a long time, but at the end of Shadowlands, I was watching some of his stuff. So it's been like, I don't know, probably a good, 10 months since I've watched any Bellular Gaming. But he said that, you know, that there were people inside of Blizzard that were basically saying that it was really Alex Afrasabi or whatever, that total douchebag who got fired because of the whole Cosby Suite crap, right? But they were saying that it was his idea. Like the Sylvanas storyline was mostly him. And I'm just like, you shouldn't have a person there that holds the end-all, be-all stamp of approval of what we're going to do. Because basically what Belliar was saying is that there were a ton of people in Blizzard who hated the Sylvanas storyline. But the problem was you had this one person who had more power than everybody else, and so, you know, they had to deal with, you know, he was able to push that storyline through. Basically, that's kind of what Bellular was insinuating, that, you know, and that's wrong. I mean, that's just wrong. You shouldn't, the game shouldn't suffer just because one player says, I think I want this. I mean, it should come down to a group, you know, like as a developer, right? You know, we all come up with ideas for our software together. And if my idea sucks, I mean, the other guys are going to say, you know, we don't really like that idea. And it gets voted out. You know, there should be a consensus that says, oh, the Sylvanas story is great. And if there's not a consensus, it shouldn't go through. And so there were a lot of problems at Blizzard that those kind of problems existed. Yeah, now I'm kind of in trouble. So basically, we're at this point now where I'm level 9, and all the quests that I have right now are very difficult for me to do at level 9. Like going, Relics of Awakening, I certainly am not going to do that. We do have the Gnarlpine Ambushers that we can do, but that's not going to be enough. So I feel like going to the other route of going to the other continent and doing the Dwarf Starting quest and the Human Strike quest make leveling to 10 a lot easier. Whether or not it's faster, I'm still not sure, but it's definitely easier. Yeah, it's never okay to abdicate. I think that I think that I don't know. I mean oversaturation of the subject is one thing, and I do think it's more oversaturated now than it's ever been before. I mean, we have so many, but we have examples of stuff that's come out that have been pretty interesting. Stuff like Stranger Days or Stranger Things. I mean, and obviously you had like Game of Thrones or whatever. But I mean, if you go back, I think you just have to look to the classics, and you just have to look to what people enjoy. At the heart of everything, people enjoy good characters. People enjoy characters that have personalities that you can relate to. I mean, things have to be relatable. Like if you really enjoy a character in a fantasy story, a lot of times it comes down to the characters that you pick out that are the ones you like the most. Like if you're talking about like Lord of the Rings, which characters do you like the most? It usually comes down to what about those characters reminds you of yourself? Like if you're someone who's afraid to take the next big step in your life, you might identify with Frodo because that's kind of the way Frodo was in the beginning. He was afraid to take any kind of a step that pulled him out of his comfort zone. But then he did take that step, and he became a better person for it. And you as a person identify with that, and so you like Frodo as a character. So what they need to do with MMOs, obviously, is develop stories that kind of can cover a gamut of, how can we make these characters relatable to the players? And how can we do it in a way that our net catches the most players' attention? We get as many people as we can to care about these characters and care about these stories. They don't have to be complicated stories, and they can be the same oversaturated stories that we've seen time and time again. But if the characters are relatable to people, it doesn't matter if it's just the exact same shit we've seen before. If they're relatable enough that the players care about those characters, then I think you're still going to have a success. I think any good story has to have significant deaths. Because then Boromir had to die because there had to be losses, and the reason Boromir had to die is because there has to be pain, there has to be loss, and and that just justifies the importance of what they were trying to accomplish. And it justifies a lot of the other stories with Boromir's father and why he went off the deep end. Obviously, you know what I mean? How he treated his other son, Faramir. And there's reasons why those characters. But I mean, if players don't, if nobody dies, you lose a lot of that kind of, what are we really fighting for here? How, you know what I mean? We're fighting for our way of life. We're fighting for our livelihoods. We're fighting for our friends and our family. There has to be something worth fighting for. It's kind of like what Sam does the whole spiel, like, this is worth fighting for. And he's talking to Frodo at Osgiliath, remember, and I think if you look at Lord of the Rings, it's always such a great example because really Lord of the Rings, I still think Lord of the Rings is the end all be all of good storytelling when it comes to classic epic, when it comes to the classic fantasy epic, right? Because Tolkien, it's hard to top Tolkien. It really is. Like when I watch stuff like Song of Ice and Fire or whatever, like Game of Thrones, it's porn for. It's like fantasy porn. You know what I mean? It's like fantasy porn for the new age. I don't find it very good. It's not like my type of fantasy. You know what I mean? I'm more traditionalist, I guess. But again, the way I look at fantasy and the way I look at those things really comes from. I always relate it back to my experiences with Dungeons and Dragons because to me, I always think of these games as I always look at it from a child's point of view. It's like it's the magic and the wonder of a fantastical world that makes this genre appealing to me. I don't want to go, and I'm not talking about everybody. I'm just talking about for me. Like what's important to me is good stories and a believable, fantastical world that we can escape into. I don't care about sexy girls running around half naked like Alex Afrasabi from Blizzard seemed to care about. Freaking. I care about more believable stories. And saying that's really funny because I always play like good-looking chicks in the game, but that's I don't. They're pleasing to look at, right? But I'm not. I'm not one of these players who wants to go into the game and marry another character in the game or something weird like that. That's not in any way appealing to me.
Greetings. Goodbye.
I have. So you can see this is where we get to though, where we struggle. It's like you're level 9 here and you're trying to get to 10 for your and really like I don't have a lot of good quests right now to do. So I would say that 100% if I was to level another hunter, I would not have stayed here. I would have left already. But I wanted to try it this time because I saw that on my very first survival hunter, the one that died at level 28, I saw that I did stay in this zone.
Hello. May the
all the way
stars
to
guide you.
to 10 to get my pet. And I think pretty much what I did is I just when I got to this point, I just went and killed a bunch of mobs for 30 minutes or whatever, however long it took me to get to level 10, which is what I'm going to do now. Do the same thing. But yeah, I think Palia, like, and you don't know. I think with Palia, I don't know exactly how much I'm going to like that game because it's a lot different. It's a lot different than games that I normally play,
Farewell.
in that it's not a lot different, but it's different. It doesn't have all the same type of systems we typically would have in a game like WoW. It's not focused as much on characters progression from a power point of view. We're not progressing our character to be like a powerful character, wielding weapons or magic. It feels like it's more about community and developing different things about your character, like and I wish there was more information. You know what I mean? Hey, what's up, Zarget? Yeah, no, hardcore is by far the best. I don't even like when I play WoW anymore. I don't even play anything else. Like, I only pretty much play hardcore. The only time I play anything else is if like when WoW came out with like a new expansion like Dragonfly. You know what I mean? Thanks, man. But yeah, I think the Palia, I'm not really sure. Like, they have stuff on their website, and I tried to go through some of that today as I signed up for the community, as I signed up to be a content creator. Of course, the video's not. If we watch the video, now this is like the original trailer for the game. I will say that the art style is pretty good. It's not my favorite art style, but it is nice. It is pleasing to look at. And what's really going to sell this art style for me is really the weather. It's like the weather, the water, the wind. It's the ambience. Like the ambient sound is what sells this. Like, so if we can hear the waterfall, if we can hear the birds, if we can hear the river, and then if we can have some nice wind effects, and then if we can have changing seasons. That I don't know if that's going to be in Palia, but I would imagine it will be, because it feels like their focus is the world, which I love. To me, the world is the most important character in any MMO, and it's one of my most important things in an MMO is how does the world look. Like, one of the most exciting things about playing an MMO is that the first couple minutes and seconds after you create your character of walking into the world for the first time. That is like always like so exciting, because you get that, it's like you get that window view into this world, and what does it look like, and how does it feel to you as a character, and how it feels is all based on really the sounds. It's like based on what you saw. It's based on your emotion, your sorry, your senses, right? It's based on your senses. We can't taste anything, obviously, but we can hear it, we can see it, right? And to a certain point, you can feel it, because when you hear wind and when you see things moving and when your character hits water, those sound effects does elicit a feel to it to some degree on some level of your consciousness, right? So that's what I'm talking about there, is they're trying to convey that to us. Like, this is what it's going to feel like when you first step into Palia and you see this really beautiful world with, you know, this large cities and, you know, things to explore. And if you guys have ever played New World, like, one of the, without a doubt, and I'm going to have to, I've always said that I need to go back and do this in New World. When you first create your character and you go through the tutorials and then you step up onto that, you climb up that mountain and it scrolls the camera back and then it brings up the logo of the game. It's like one of the coolest moments in any MMO. New World logo, don't know how to say it. New World tutorial completion. I don't know if they're going to have it here, but it's just so freaking cool. I'm going to have to go back and play New World. Yeah, that intro. Yeah, New World intro, yeah. I'm going to have to go back. I really want to go back and do it just record that part. I always forget. And I know I've recorded it, but I want to like record it like and do like a clip it, you know, and clip the clip. Well, that's the intro cinematic. You know, they changed it. Like, I played New World like years ago. I mean, I was in the earlier betas of New World that had the, you know, the NDA watermark all over the screen, right? And I wish I still had like video of that because I don't have it anymore. Yeah, see, even all none of these videos do it. Does it look like New World intro? Last line, maybe. Intro tutorial. Yeah. Anyways, I could get, like I said, done this cinematic. But yeah, I definitely want to go back and clip that because to me, it's probably one of the best, like the most impressive transitions. You know, you see it a lot in single player games. You know, I'm banned, you play single player games, right? You see it a lot in single player games where you go through like an intro, you go through like kind of a starter thing and where they're like, here's the game and here's how you move your character. And maybe you talk to some NPCs and then maybe you move to a certain part of the game and then it throws up like this, like this here. This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Like you're a new character and you're walking through the world and then you come upon this and see how the camera zooms in. It's like zooming in over your right shoulder. And in a single player game, you see that a lot where you like go through like this kind of opening tutorial quest and stuff. Then all of a sudden there's something in the game that they want to show off to you. And then like the camera zooms in and the music gets loud and then they'll scroll the logo. Like right now you would expect like Palia to just scroll right in front of my eyes on the screen here. Oops, I knocked my phone off. I guess games have intros like that, but it really touched me. It hit me. I really liked it. I thought, wow, I thought it was really good. I thought they did a great job of that. And I think a lot of it had to do with the color and the lighting. I'm really big into lighting and color, which is why I have a hard time playing any game now without reshade. But yeah, it should be part of the story. All the cats meowing at the door here. I don't play as many games anymore. I play mostly MMOs. So. Yeah, I probably do need to play more games. I'm getting too outdated, because I haven't played enough of the more modern like RPGs and single player games. You can see that there's some players in the game here. So we can see that here's a player in the game called Maki350 and chopping down a tree. You know, one thing that was really cool was, and we need to get out of the game here because I have to get to bed. But one thing that was really cool was, and let's see if we can find it really quickly.
So mining is content.
What is this? Ashes of Creation mining early lumberjack in comparison.
Lumberjacking is an artisan skill centered around gathering wood from trees.
No shit.
Will the Online in Guild Wars 2 do?
So here is the Ashes of Creation. I wanted to show you, like, you can go back to Half-Life. Actually, yeah, I actually played Half-Life. I actually played the first Half-Life, and that does a really cool thing in the beginning of, it's kind of scary, but it does kind of do that where you kind of see that tunnel view and it showcases the game. But I was just trying to say it was interesting. Like Palia is like a gathering game, and I think what I wanted to say was that New World showed us, and I think showed showed the genre, that showed game makers that gathering and how it looks is so important to making the game, to the enjoyment of the game. Like how you chop down trees in New World was such a cool feeling and experience that it, like when you first went and chopped down trees, you're like, wow, that was really cool, right? Like how the trees like had physics, how they would fall over and could land on other trees and get stuck. And then if you had like a high level logging axe in New World, you could go to a stretch of trees and literally chop them all down. You know what I mean? And so actually one of the people that took notice was obviously Steven at Ashes, what's the name of the company? Can't remember the name of the company behind Ashes Creation. My brain's not thinking right now. You guys know, but he obviously was paying attention because check out.
However, so we'll be focusing around these two games for this segment. In Guild Wars 2, these lumber gathering spots show like the stone and herbs, cutting trees.
This is Black Desert's gathering. Let's get rid of. I don't want to hear Narc's voice. I'm not a big fan of this content creator. He's just a little. When he's parading around in his underwear with Stephen Shreve's face on his underwear, I thought that was pretty much kind of disgusting, but whatever. So here you've got Guild Wars 2, chopping down a tree, and the tree falls over. Again, Guild Wars 2. Now you're looking again, Guild Wars 2. I wanted to go back to the black. This is in the game here. Where's the execution lumbering? They really showed it off well in the actual Ashes of Creation official channel. This was from 2 months ago, so this may show it.
Many of what the world is showing you of these resources. So when you see a tree, you can chop a tree. If you see a rock, you can mine a rock.
So and that's it sounds like he's saying, and this is another thing that like a lot of MMOs do, which I'm not a big fan of, is that like you go into a world and you see rocks everywhere, but you can only mine certain rocks, right? Or like you can only chop down certain trees. Like in Guild Wars 2, not every tree you see can you chop down, which I've always thought was kind of stupid. And in New World, that was one of the cool things about New World is you could chop down any tree. You could gather almost any plant that's on the ground, any bush. Not everything, like the grass you couldn't gather, but well, you could gather some of it. That's what was so cool about New World is that everything, like so many things in the world were gatherable and you know, you could interact. The other thing that was cool about New World, which became not so cool, or the things that they changed that I didn't like, was that when you put down a campsite in New World, initially, in the older versions of New World, you couldn't, like, let's say you couldn't go to this area here where there's all this grass or something and place like a campsite, but you could, or like, that's not a good example. Let's say that this grass here is just a bunch of like bushes and a few small trees. You couldn't put your campsite there because of the bushes and the small trees are in the way, but you could gather the bushes. You could chop down the small trees, and then guess what? Then you could put your campsite there. And I like that. You know, and the other thing you could do is you could clear a space. You know what I mean? Like you could go to an area and clear the resources out of the area and then build like a structure right there. And then you know what I mean? You could put up like wooden walls and put up like a building or something, or like some crafting stations and stuff. And so the world felt more like sandboxy. Like, and I think that's really, really cool, you know, and I like that, you know, like if you guys have ever played, let's see, if you ever played that game on Steam, and of course this shows at my age because I can't remember anything more. Memories are so bad, but it's gonna be here. Hold on a second. Leon. Valheim. If you ever played Valheim, you know, like if you've ever played Valheim, you can do the same thing in Valheim, which it's one of the cool things about Valheim. Is probably what people liked about Valheim, is that you can clear an area and build structures on that area, and then it's almost like you've terraformed it. You know, you've put your mark on it, and most MMOs don't really handle that very well. Like if you like in World of Warcraft, you go and there's a copper ore and you mine it. Well, guess what? That same stupid copper ore spawns in the same location. It's not very realistic. It's just kind of repetitive cycle of nodes appearing, you know, and I need to go back and play Valheim. Maybe we'll do that. And I already apologized to Mike because I told him, I said, you know, I got so many characters I'm playing, and I said, I can't put a lot of time into a duo right now. I said I can maybe play once or twice a week on the duos, but I really, right now in World of Warcraft, I want to focus on the melee hunter and the warrior. I'd like to get the warrior to 60. I'd like to try to get the melee hunter up. But honestly, in all reality, there's so many things coming out probably in the next couple of months that I don't even know how far, you know what I mean? I'll probably end up playing, you know, some other games pretty soon because we have stuff that's on the way, but we'll see. But yeah, but Valheim, you can do that. And most MMOs, you can't do that. That's what I'm trying to get at. Most MMOs don't really have the ability to kind of terraform or to kind of like make a piece of land your own, to like basically like clear away the trees and clear away the grass and lay down. And so what I'm hoping is that Palia will let you do that. I'm also hoping that Ashes of Creation also will have some of that in it, where you can go in and chop down the trees and then maybe build a structure. I don't know how much they're going to have in Ashes of Creation. But if you see, but I wanted to show you one thing that was really interesting here is you can see that Steven was definitely looking at New World, because New World's trees lumbering was so cool. It's really cool, and it made like gathering lumber a lot more doable. And you can see here that Steven's basically directly copied, which, as you know, Imbe, the best way to make games is to copy other games that do something really well and just copy it and make it a little bit better. So if you look at this, check this out.
I love the new UI.
Oh, I know. And the sound. Get ready.
I like the sound, but right away I can say the breaking apart on New World is way better. You can see like little pieces of wood being torn apart, and there's like sawdust flying, kind of breaking apart, breaking out. So that part of it on New World looks way better.
Ready. It's happening.
I like the sound effects. The breaking of the limb falling down is really unrealistic. So they've tried to add more to it than what New World has.
Oh. And the sound. Get ready. It's happening.
So the sound's great, but this limb right here is going to kind of snap and fall down. The physics of it, and it doesn't look realistic at all. Because if it did snap and fall down, it wouldn't just snap back like it was made out of rubber. If this limb snapped and hit and folded down like it did, there would be some visible breakage here, and we don't see that. Also, like I said, I don't like how it's just such a clean cut. It's not realistic at all.
It's happening.
But watch how this limb's gonna kind of flop down. See, it flopped. It actually even it went through the tree. You know what I mean? So it actually it clipped all the way through the tree.
And the sound.
Actually, here, let's do this. Oops, I screwed up.
Oh. It's happening.
Oh, God. Sounds like he's having an orgasm. See how the branch clipped all the way through the tree?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, I'm trying so hard not to laugh because I don't want my wife to hear me in the bedroom. But he sounds like he's having an orgasm. Oh my God. Okay, you got to watch some of these videos in slow speed just because. I was trying so hard not to laugh out loud because I'll probably wake up my wife in the other room.
Look at the dust kick up. Look at the canopy of the.
I didn't.
And the sound.
Did you guys see
Get
dust?
ready.
Let's see if
It's happening. Oh my gosh.
Oh, there's
Look
dust.
at the dust kick up. Look at the canopy of the tree get impacted and when it falls. Wait. That's not all. As it dissolves, it comes back and it grows. And of course, we are speeding up this growth stage, right, Alex?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
So we're speeding this up now to give you guys an idea of how these assets regrow in the world.
So I do think that's how they're regrowing in Ashes Creation is pretty cool. And like I said, they obviously he was watching New World, but yeah. So hopefully Iron Bay Palia will have some cool stuff on how how things are actually chopped down and graphically. Because I think it's the attention to details that's really missed in MMOs. And like when I went back and I looked at my EverQuest story essay, like the fact that I'm sitting there saying I'm looking for an MMO that has better AI and better action combat. Well, we've gotten better action combat in some games, but we've not gotten better mob AI. Can you guys honestly say over the past 10 or 12 or 15 years, have we seen MMOs where the mob AI is drastically better? No, we haven't. Like you go all the way back to some single player games. Single player games have much better mob AI, and I don't know if you guys remember Far Cry. You guys remember Far Cry? And some of those games, and also some of the first-person shooter games like Battlefield have way better mob AI. Mobs actually will take cover. Mobs will do kind of a tactical surround. They'll actually try to surround you, and kind of group up on you. You can also see single player assassin type, ninja type games where the whole point of it is to not be seen, and they have the little eye that appears. Even Skyrim does that, where it's the little eyeball that shows have you been seen and how easily detectable are you. But the mob AI is really good, and if they do see you, they start to basically do coordinated movements to kind of single you out or maybe surround you. Yeah, like the grunts in Halo. Yeah, so I mean the thing is that to me that's one of the biggest areas. It's one of the areas of MMOs that could improve the most. That would have a direct impact on the player, and have a direct impact on the player in a good way. When I played Terra, early versions of Terra, I don't want to say the mob AI was great, but the mobs they did hit a lot harder. And when I played around on a Terra private server that a Terra emulator I was able to run on my local computer, I was able to go in and scale up the mob difficulty, and just see how that kind of coefficient of the mob's difficulty, affected the game. Go in there and turn. There was stuff like special attacks. So basically, the way Terra worked was that like a mob, all the mobs in the world had special attacks. So even just basic little mobs. So if you think about World of Warcraft and you think about, let's say like like a boar, right? Like let's say you're fighting a boar in World of Warcraft. The boars have some of the boars in WoW have special attacks. They have a charge ability. So like when you're fighting like a level 15 boar in Lakeshire, Redridge, right? You may be fighting him, and if you try to run away, he may charge you. Well, that's considered one of the mob's special attacks. So one of the tuning abilities of the server of Terra was to change the percentage of chance of the mob executing a special attack. And then the other thing you could do was change the attack speed. How often does the mob actually attack? Is it every second he swings a weapon, or is it every 2 seconds? What's the percentage chance that when he swings his weapon, it's one of his special attacks? And then of course, outside of those scaling factors, you have, how much damage does his attacks do? How much health does the mob have? How long before the mob resets when you run away from them? These are all the different factors that an individual, enemy player in the world can have. So when I start thinking about Palia, I'm thinking of along the levels of this type of stuff, the gathering. Like what kind of gathering can be done? How can it be done? Can we cut down any tree, which I think is great. I think that kind of got off topic, but that's where I was going. Was like one thing in MMOs is that I like about New World was that you could chop down just about any tree, and I think that really adds to the believability and to the immersion of the game. And also the cool thing about that is, one of the great side effects or bonuses of that is you're not fighting for resources so much. I mean, there are ore nodes in the world that you can kind of fight for, but in New World, it's really easy to find things. You're not. I mean, there's like an area that has a lot of silver ore that does respawn on kind of like a World of Warcraft spawn, but it respawns very quickly. It's not, you're not like waiting a long time. But lumbering is like there's like flint, for example. I mean, I could sit there in a certain piece of water and pick up flint for like an hour, and I'd have so much flint. Same thing with fishing. I mean, you can fish anywhere in New World. The fishing pools are obviously what you want to fish, but you can fish just about anywhere. World of Warcraft, same thing. You can fish anywhere. And the fishing system in New World is my favorite. Out of all the games I've ever played, fishing in New World is my favorite version of fishing. I would say Black Desert is probably my next favorite, but I haven't done a ton of fishing. Anyways, I have got to get to bed. It's way past my bedtime. So, hope you guys have a good one. And yeah, hopefully I get into the Palia. I don't know when they're going to do the beta, like you said. I'm hoping. I'll be keeping an eye on. I don't even know. I'll be keeping an eye on my email. Hopefully we'll get something from them. But since I just filled that out today, we probably won't get anything for a while. All right, guys. Have a good one. I will catch you next time. Peace out. Yeah. I bet you would be just hunting game in there. What do you mean hunting game? Yeah, we don't know. Like with Palia, they talked. I mean, because people were talking about is there going to be combat? I think it would be hard for me to be interested in Palia for long term unless they had some sort of, like you said, hunting or because hunting would be good. Because you could hunt deer or like bears for like a bearskin rug for your house, and it would be really cool if they did a lot with professions, so you could have like leatherworking and yeah. Oh, it will be, yeah. They probably won't make the bow like my favorite part about bow combat is obviously I like it to be like Skyrim bowing or like I like there to be an aiming aspect to using the bow because it just makes it so much more fun. Yeah. I play a survival game. My favorite survival game, and I'm not a big survival game fan, but the game called The Long Dark, it actually had, and I got to get to bed, guys, but it had a thing where you could literally pick up rocks off the ground, like little pebbles, and you could try to throw them at rabbits. And if you hit the rabbit in the head, it would daze the rabbit, but you had to run up to the rabbit fast enough to grab it. Otherwise, it would kind of like get undazed, and then it would run away again. And they also had little, like when you found like pieces of string or pieces of like fishing line, and you could use sticks and take the fishing line, the sticks, and you could craft like a little trap for rabbits to try to trap them. So that would be something you could put into Palia. You know, put into a little bit of hunting and trapping, like you said, small game and stuff. But as a game developer, you don't have to look far. It's not like you're trying to reinvent the wheel. There's plenty of games out there that do really cool things, and to me, it's always a matter of finding all the right pieces that fit your game, that fit into your game. It's like creating a video game is like it's like a big jigsaw puzzle because there's all these different pieces, and you just have to get the right pieces that fit in the right way so that the puzzle gets complete and looks good. And then of course you have to have your gaming tenets, like what is it that your game's trying to accomplish, and who's the audience you're trying to draw in, and if you can stay true to that and not get lost in the trees, because there's a lot of trees, then hopefully you can make something that appeals to the target audience that you're looking for. Anyways, guys, I'm out of here. Have a good one. See you, everybody. See you, Zargoot. Thanks for stopping by. See you, Shot. Everybody have a good one. Peace.